Do I have testing? What's going on?
Try to.
Yeah, let me try this. Hold on, just a second.
This is working.
Yeah, it's not on because you don't have it in.
There we go. I think
There
we
you
got
go.
it.
Now it's in.
No,
I
it's
see blue light. Testing.
not. There we go.
Are we? Are we on? No. I love to hear myself on the radio, on the internet. Check.
I mean, both are on, so that's as much as I know about the system for radio.
Check. Okay,
I
then.
don't know. We can see how it sounds
just you.
online. It
Okay.
may just not be there, but
Good. Tell me if you see it online.
you're not live yet.
No, he's-
Yeah.
It says I got something here, and then. Technology. Yeah. Even when you do, they are they. You can hear it, okay? Hey, perfect. I can talk loud. Can you hear me now? Okay. Welcome, you guys. So we are here at a garden class. There's a skip of snow at my house. You all are freaks of nature. Gardeners. You're here at a garden class. There's snow on the ground. Everyone else hunker down, sip of coffee, one more cup of coffee or something. Good for you. So it is what do you think the happiest plant was yesterday during that storm? Number one happiest plant. Pansies, viola, Johnny jump ups. They were celebrating. They loved the snow. That's why we parked them right outside. Okay, let's get them out where it's cold. They'll love that. Just let them enjoy it. There are certain plants that love this kind of early spring, and there's some plants that hate it. You need to make sure you're planting early spring plants now, and then spring plants usually starting in May. Just so you know, we cover a little bit of that. It's not really today's class. Today's class, Chris is going to teach. I'm going to tag team with him. Chris is our tree and shrub guy. So anything that has to do, all the trees and shrub, roses. We have a rose launch just happened. He found the roses. He secured them. He's got 100 of each secured side. We'll sell through all of those. That's that That's it. If you're into roses, you want to grab those ahead of time because we run out. The second they hit here and there in bloom, there's one on every cart. So we have a pre-order thing. Chris lines all of that up for us. My name's Ken. Hi. I'm the owner of the garden center. We kind of run the garden center together. And so we tag team classes. This will be the last class of the spring season. We'll take a break in May just because the facility won't handle a class and all the gardeners. We come right back at it June, I think 7th, the first Saturday in June. We'll kind of come back, start to get warm. It'll be that summer series of plants. Heat-loving flowers. How do you water? Bugs, because by then grasshoppers are starting to show up, coming across in waves. How do you deal with that? All that summer gardening thing. Then we go right into fall. My team is teaching a lot of these now. You had Rio and Michaela teach the vegetable class last week. Said, hey, what do you think of this schedule? I went, boss, let's keep it going. Let's go into fall farther. I went, all right, go for it. So it looks like we'll go into October or so. So those will be posted on our website. Take a look. Today's class, though, is on how to attract. Basically, hummingbirds are back. They're migrating right now. So some of them are migrating very far north, and they're using this as simply a resting point. They're just here for a bit, kind of rehydrating, getting a few calories, and they take off further. Others are just going out. I don't travel that far. It's too hot in Phoenix. I'm coming to the hill. They're just like our Scottsdale folks. They winter down there and they summer up here. That's kind of they're those kind of birds. So you're seeing all of them here. We are on the migratory path. They're using the river system. So the Verde, we're the city of 5 lakes. It's a resting spot because it's hydration, that kind of stuff. So you'll see a lot of birds float through here because of all the water. This is kind of a spot in the state where they kind of migrate to. And so not migrate to, but migrate through, or two. I guess both. And hummingbirds are part of that. And so there are some secrets on how to attract more. And it's not feeders. Feeders are good, but you need the plants for them to feel comfortable enough to get to use the feeder. There's a thing that you have to do. So with that, give it up for Chris Arthur. I'm gonna tag team with him. It's all you.
All right. As Ken said, my name is Chris, and kind of to piggyback on what he was saying, hummingbirds migrate. They need a water source. They need nectar. So, like as they're coming through, early spring and fall is like a really important time to have flowers that are blooming to attract them, and water sources like a bird bath or like a water feature in your yard kind of attracts them more. And they like a lot of flowers that are like reds, oranges, yellows, purples, and flowers that kind of have like a resting spot for them to kind of stand on or perch up on. So I tried to grab some flowers that attract them, and then also just a lot of stuff that we've got in the last couple weeks. We're getting deliveries. Seems like every day.
Yeah.
The last few weeks or so.
It's been a lot.
It's been a lot.
It's hard to fill up 2 acres with plants.
So yeah. So some of the I don't like perennials. Like they're more perennials than annuals, just because I think I like perennials a little bit more than annuals. But
You know the difference between perennials and annuals, right? So it's like the number one most confusing question. So annuals live annually. That's it. They're out. Perennials and permanent both start with P. They come back year after year. So kind of go with, for my friends, I want you planting perennials because you just once and done. Or they'll grow for years. Some things like peonies, they grow for 50 years. They're very ancient. They get very old. They'll outlive us. So that's a great thing about perennials. It's a good way to go.
And another thing about hummingbirds is they like different heights. So it's good to plant lower ground cover flowering stuff with taller, mid-sized flowers kind of in the back. They're very like keen to colors and heights and depth perception and stuff. So
I would include trees in that too, Chris.
trees too.
They really like my mimosas, those mid-sized trees, the red buds. Like they nest up there. Even maples, I find they nest in my maple. They got the cutest little nest to them. So
Yeah, we find hummingbird nests in the garden center every year. Usually kind of hidden in some of the evergreen trees for protection, but oftentimes you see them in some of the flowering trees as well. So some of the perennials that I got that are kind of lower growing ground cover types that hummingbirds like are heuchera. These need shade in the afternoon, but they kind of have a flower that grows higher than the plant itself. So the mother hummingbird is attracted to the height and the color of the leaf. This plant comes in a bunch of different colors. This one's kind of a red. This one's like a green. They like ultraviolet greens and reds. These are nice low to the ground shade plants that will have these tall flower stalks that come up with tiny little kind of small bell-shaped flowers that have nectar, which is like the energy that keeps the hummingbirds flapping their wings.
now, Chris, I've got one of those. I can hear myself now. It just came online. I like it. I'm going to talk to myself some more. Hey, you guys, I'm glad you're tuned in. You should come visit us today. It's kind of snowy, a little slower. We'd love to see you. So anyway, I've got one of these in a container, my back patio, which is like the birds are so thick back there, it's almost ridiculous. We've got flowers, colors, that layer, all that Chris is talking about. I like this one because it gets got a square pot. It's probably this big around, and it will literally have hundreds of flowers up and down the stalk. There's so many flowers you can hardly see the foliage. There's so much. But what I like about it is this time of year, all that new foliage is really bright. It's like fluorescent. Before the flowers really start blooming, the foliage comes up and it's just glorious. And it's probably 5 or 6 years old in that pot. You'd think it would die out, but it just loves the mountains. Good perennial here.
And it's hard to see probably online and for you guys, but the flowers on these are tiny, tiny little bell-shaped flowers. So if you're familiar with like a trumpet vine, they have bigger bell-shaped flower. These are a very miniature version, but hummingbirds are really like the shape of flowers. So like a flat flower is not appealing to them, but something that has a shape where they can stick their long tongues in. It's kind of what they go for. So
I noticed in my the swallowtails, butterflies really like that thing too. They're all over the flowers. It's a big. That's kind of our state butterfly. I know monarchs get all the glory, but our state butterfly is swallowtails. So be able to show. Here, this is for you folks. I'm going to give you a seat right up front.
another nice flower, columbines, another afternoon shade perennial. As you see with this one, I like the red columbines a lot, but these columbines have also that long flower, long bell-shaped flower. Those can be hard for people online to see those.
Can you got it? Is that good? Yeah, there we go. This comes in a lot of colors too. There's a native one that grows wild at this level and above. It's yellow color, so it's robust. In a more shaded areas, it's draw hardy. So you'll see that growing underneath the canopy of pines and that kind of stuff. Columbine, it's such a strong plant. We were trying to bring in more colors, there's blues, yellows, reds.
Tons of colors down the greenhouse. That is grabbed this one. One thing that's good to note about columbine is that they bloom in early spring. So we're talking about hummingbirds migrating. We're talking about it's important to have something blooming in the spring, something blooming in the summer, something blooming in the fall. This should be an early spring one that will attract them as they're kind of migrating up through our region.
I noticed they get on my rosemary.
Oh,
it's starting to bloom right now, so it's starting to, it blooms real early, so the bees are real hungry too. So all the pollinators are out. But there's not that many flowers up yet. And so they're really attracted to anything that blooms early. They're all over.
Yeah, I think grab some rosemary. It's a good call.
Yeah, now they know about it.
And another shade-loving perennial. These guys are pretty spectacular.
That's really spectacular.
Yeah, but we're talking about flower shaped and long cone shaped stuff. These attract hummingbirds like crazy. Like I said, they color is what they look for, and something with a huge long stalk, long color, long flower attracts them, from far away. These look great. We have a few of these down there. They seem to sell really fast. The light purple, fluorescent bright colors is what they go for. These come in a bunch of different colors too, I think.
Yeah, this goes well in a container. It's got, you can grow almost anywhere.
The question was, what's the name? Sorry, is the effort. This is the Delphinium.
Or foxglove is another name. Got a couple names. Good, strong, shade-loving.
Shade-loving.
It's not going to be, it would grow in the sun right now, but in June, it's going to vapor or be. When you read the tag, it says grows in full sun. Yeah, in Michigan. Here, at this altitude, it tends to bird, it wants bird protection. A little long. Good perennial though. I do have a handout. I've got 3 handouts for you. One, I've got the whole list. So if you're a note taker and you miss one of these, I will have the list to you. It will be in your inbox this afternoon. Okay, I've got the nine. Wrote an article for a magazine, I think for School Magazine. The 9 flowers, or was it shrubs, blooming plants that hummingbirds cannot resist. So that'll be in your inbox. And then we've got to cover watering. So I'm going to send you the water guide, because as soon as this thing clears, you're going to need to get the watering right. Because it's going to warm up as we get into May. You're going to need to be more accurate. So I'm kind of help you. How do I program that clock, or how do I have the guys program it for me, whatever. You want to hone that in. So if you want those, give me your email and I will send that to you. I'll personally send that to you from my inbox to yours. If you could, I only have 1 pen. You have a pen. You overall said, well, that.
I'll share it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Here we go. Here, we'll just put it right here. You'll need the pen back, which
Yeah.
we'll have. If you could too, I'll be running around this afternoon. I'll probably get it after lunches, different lunch group goes, so I'll be a little bit tired. Write clearly so I can interpret your hieroglyphics. Some of you are terrible. And so if you could just take a little moment so I know the difference between 6s and B's and that kind of stuff. So I can figure out the Google, Yahoo, that is the front name.
then here we have more of a shrub. This is again still afternoon shade. This is a rhododendra. This would do fine morning sun, afternoon shade. But again, the common theme we're talking about here is the shape of the flower is what really attracts the hummingbirds. And they even have, if you look closely, there's like mini flowers coming out of the flower. That's cool. That's like another thing that hummingbirds really go for because they can come in through and just pop through and get the nectar from everything. So there's flowers with flowers on the inside. And the color, the bright red, the long shape, is kind of what they're going for. These are great. These get bigger. The ones we were talking about before are smaller, maybe a couple feet tall and wide. These will be more of a shrub type, but still afternoon shade. You can do sun now, but like in a few weeks when we get hot, the leaves will get fried. It really needs afternoon shade. The rhododendron, what is it? Daily down there, a little bit smaller of a flower, but same kind of thing. It really, the bright colors and the flower shape is really attractive.
People are surprised they can grow these here, but in the shaded parts of the garden, they thrive and they don't take that much water because they're in the shade. So they don't dry out as fast as, let's say, maybe even your lilacs do because they're in that more protected. But as long as you place them right, and they'll go down to, I think this goes down to minus 30 or 40 degrees, something we will never see in our lifetime. It's not the cold, it's the altitude in that sun. That's kind of that's the difference you'll find here. But an amazing evergreen shrub. Those are frozen container. Beautiful glazed pot. It's gorgeous.
These are pretty.
Pretty.
All right, so we got some annual flowers. These are another thing that hummingbirds go crazy for. These are petunias. Sorry, I keep saying the names. I can say that first. And these have the light. These come in all different kind of colors. I brought up some that have the lighter, brighter color. Again, that's what they want. They don't like dull blues or dull reds. They have to be bright. These are annual flowers. So you plant them now. Then when we get cold in November, October, kind of depending, it's when they kind of fizzle out. But again, you can see the flower shape. Okay.
Kind of some plant just dirty stuff. There's a miniature petunia. They call that a calibrachoa or million-belled petunia, which is basically a small trailing that we use them in hanging baskets a lot because they put on long tendrils. And then we've got regular petunias. And don't just buy any petunias. So a lot of the petunias your grandparents grew up, they grow up and they flop over. The newer genetics, the better plants, you pay 50 cents more for a way better plant. It just fills out. It doesn't have this floppy, droopy, doesn't get the disease, and it blooms better. This is the reason hummingbirds like it. It's like crack. It's always blooming. They've always got nectar. So people are like, go, I need some more of that. Oh my gosh. So they love petunias.
Yeah, and the mini birds just talks about it. These are more of like a low grower. So we were talking about having like multiple levels. This would be kind of like a ground cover type that you could sprinkle if you had a big pot around the main centerpiece, or if you have a big flower garden somewhere around the garden. These would be the ground covers, and they're just miniature versions of the petunia, the same kind of flower shape and stuff. These come in every color. We have every color around here. We have petunias and these colors.
They come striped, they come spiral, they come solid. It's pretty cool. They even have a new one. I'm trying to find it. I can't get a grower on the West Coast. They have one of these that glows in the dark. Literally. It's stupid expensive for one plant. But if they've got it, I can get them. I find a grower to get them from outside because they're so cool. All my the folks that show up at garden classes, like in a snowstorm, they would buy those because they're just so freaking cool. Oh my gosh. We'll have probably next year. We'll see. They just launched. It just kind of the seed of the first of them are out. And when we see them, they have this dark room. You walk in, and then the room is glowing with all these petunias. It is super cool. If you are doing your container, if you're dressed, so Lisa and I just planted some of those petunias just for the snowstorm because we knew they would take some cold. They're kind of one of these transition plants. They'll go down to mid-20s, no problem, and just keep moving. So we can put those in early. Containers, I would encourage you, if you're doing container gardens, which I encourage, it's just so easy, put some fresh potting soil in the top layer of those bigger pots. If it's a small pot, replace all of the soil fresh. The soil is where the vigor is. It's where the vitality is, where the difference is. And if you have some of those old roots still sitting there, they just aren't going to be as strong as they were last year when they began that fresher soil. So really what I do is I'll transition some of my container soils, and I take that soil and put it in my raised beds. We've got a half acre, it's sloped. We've got raised beds everywhere. So I take that, put it over there, and then I put freshness into my containers. It's a game changer for you. I'll take that. Thank you.
So the next flower is a snapdragon. I guess we consider these annuals up here. These when it gets really hot, kind of fizzle out, but they reseed themselves for I think like 3 or 4 years. But again, we're talking about height and multiple colors on the flower. These are kind of like a cooler season bloomer. So they bloom in spring and all the time, and even through the winter until it gets real cold. But you know, the flower shape again, multiple bright colors. The height is kind of what attracts the hummingbirds.
If you're doing a lot of flowers too, you could put some flower power in it. So this is your friend, flower power fertilizer. This is like magic. In fact, this will make, if you just put a little bit of this on the pots that you just left over pots, it'll make the pot bloom. It's literally a blooming fertilizer. It's 48% phosphorus, that middle number. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potash. The middle number is what forms flowers. The secret is it's not very water soluble. So you put bone meal, phosphate, 0,18,0. It just takes so long to break down. This has got a scoop, 1 scoop per gallon of water. You put it in your watering can, put it on your flowers, instantaneously available to the plant. 48%. Not like superphosphates, 18%. Bone meal's 10% phosphorus. This is 48, and it's in liquid form. It's as high as I could go, and still keep it liquid. After that, it starts to coagulate and starts to settle. It's not as pretty. This is a really pretty fertilizer. So it's basically like Miracle Grow, only way better. So it really does make things bloom. This kind of flowering stuff. Every couple of weeks, how often I use it. So it says the rate there. So every 2 weeks, a couple times a month. Or here's another, backyard parties, barbecues, 4th of July, that kind of stuff. About a week before the party, I'll go deadhead on my flowers, and I fertilize it with this. By the time the party shows up, everything is empty. And people go, "Wow, you're such a gardener." I go, "Yeah, no, it's just about timing. Just the dead flowers off, give some of this, and they just bloom like that." But for hummingbirds, trying to keep the flowers on, you should deadhead probably a little bit more and fertilize more because it keeps those flowers coming up.
You said 1 scoop per gallon. What do you mean by scoop?
It's got scoop inside of it. It's
Oh.
not complicated. It's just, it'll become real apparent. Just go. Usually, if you get a cartload of flowers, just get one of these. This is probably a season's worth. So again, I have a couple watering cans. Actually, I have 4 watering cans. Here's a gardener's guide. You need 2 watering cans for the backyard. You need 2 watering cans for the front yard. You don't want 1 watering can. I had 2 back surgeries. It kills your back. That 2 gallons, just get 2, and it just makes it easier. Then you don't want to schlep your watering cans to the backyard to the front yard. They're cheap tools. Just have a couple in the back and in the front. Game changer. And when I'm fertilizing on my container gardens, I just load them all up. And I go water, and it's just like makes my plants happy. It makes me happy.
Yeah, flower power works good. It's something you should use every 2 weeks, all spring and all summer long for container flowering stuff, even vegetables. Something you should do every 2 weeks, like working on the calendar.
Just every other Saturday or Sunday or Monday.
We can go with some kind of opposite direction. This would be the hot, super warm weather stuff that's going to attract the hummingbirds in the middle of summer, like in June and July, when we're going through the 90-degree heat waves and stuff. This is the red hot poker. I'm sure you see these around. They bloom like in June for like 2.5 weeks. Kind of hard to get an idea of what it looks like. This will be like a grass, a dormant grass with a really long stem with like a neon red or orange flower. Hummingbirds go crazy for it. I mean, it's still very kind of, and it's just waking up dormancy mode. But in like June, you'll start seeing them around people's yards. And the flower will be, a couple feet taller than the bush.
And it looks like a red hot poker. Like you just pull out of the fire. Exactly. It's that color. That's why it's called a red hot poker. And we've got some of the new exotic varieties. We got a pure banana yellow, an orangey, and a reddy. We got the dwarf ones. We got the tall ones. We get bored with plants. We got all. Good question. Yeah, these are perennials. Yes.
Can I just add something? We have that really good luck with the red hot poopers with the pigs, javelina.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. She has javelina. Who doesn't?
Yeah, but I mean,
They leave them alone.
Yeah.
They don't bother the red hot pokers. Or the yuccas, really.
Yeah, so it's
They're pretty good. Well, I won't say that about the gophers. Sometimes the gophers can go for the roots.
Yeah.
Generally, they'll leave the top plant alone. Red hot poker.
And then this, yeah, full sun, absolutely. These are all full sun. They can sit in the middle of the yard. They get roasted from sunrise to sunset.
And run them in rocks. But take a blow dryer too.
Yeah, anywhere that gets extra radiant heat, if it's like against the house or in a pot in front of the garage or something, they can take all the heat, and they're very drought tolerant. So you don't have to water too frequently.
That's number one seller for all the yuccas. Red yuccas, number one.
Yeah, and these are similar. It's more like a desert look, but these will get like a 3 foot, 4 foot long flower. Comes in red, comes in yellow. These are attract all the pollinators, not just hummingbirds, bees, butterflies, another like full sun, straight up desert type plants. This one, we have a couple of them we have down there are just starting to shoot out the little flowers and stuff. We'll see them around because you'll walk past someone's house, it'll just look like this. And like a couple of days later, you walk past it, there's like a 3 foot flower. Like they bloom overnight.
Define these.
Yucca.
Yuccas.
Okay.
Red, you'll have the list here shortly. So, can I talk about lilac? This is in bloom in my house right now. Can you see that in the folks on camera? See that too? It's all that. This is Pocahontas lilac. All the lilacs grow well. This is lilac tree. They grow longer. We don't have the disease that the Midwest has, humid climates, and they are so deep rooted. I call them drought hardy or low maintenance. They come in standard size. This is standard size. Mine's probably 8 to 10 feet tall. I'm having it shade my west side office wall because it's just so hot in the summer. It's perfect for shading, and then it drops its leaves in the winter. It lets the sun in the winter. It's perfect. They make short ones, so only about hip high or so. Those are called bloomerangs, or there's several names. Little petite. There's several that are repeat blooming, shorter varieties. But pick your size and pick your color, and they do really well. And hummingbirds like to nest in my tall one, so I do find hummingbird nests up here, and they like the flowers. Well, and they just smell. The smell you smell is not of the flowers. It's a lilac. That's why you put them in here just to kind of tease you. Going, they'll plant today if we make it smell good in here. No, not really. It smells good in here all the time. Right? So again, full sun, blistering hot. Animals seem to leave it alone. Deer will eat on it a little bit. I think it's just because they're bored, but generally they leave them alone. Pigs don't bother them, so it's a good plant, good strong plant. It takes the wind, all that.
We should stick this in the spring flowers.
Sure. Okay.
So these are a bunch of different varieties of creeping phlox.
They just do a box.
Okay, we can start with phlox.
Yeah.
Talking about ground covers again, very bright colors. You want to like layer the flowers to attract hummingbirds. So this would be another ground cover similar to the Caliproa. You can see we brought in variegated pink and white, bright purple, bright pink, like a ground cover flower. It's like an early spring flowering ground cover. So when it gets a little bit warmer in the summer, it kind of fizzles out. Or you can companion plant it with penstemon or beard tongue. That's covered. This is like a tall, flowering, perennial, full sun. They have the long flower stalk, the bell-shaped flowers that we were talking about earlier, but it still gives it height. These bloom a little bit later. This would be the one to plant if you wanted the early spring bloom. Diantha, they come in a bunch of different colors as well. Kind of a flatter flower, but the color really attracts the hummingbirds.
I can tell you that the penstemon, that's a flower, you know, certain plants, they bicker over, like, no, that's my flower. No, that's mine. No, they're back and forth. That's penstemon. They just go crazy over that. So I don't know why. It tastes good. It comes in a lot of colors. And it's a native. It's a wildflower for here.
You see them popping up, like native versions popping up. You go hiking around a lot of the lake areas around here. It's kind of funny if you like see in the garden center and you think they're pretty, and you go hiking like a week later, you see something. It's like, wait, that looks like the flower. It's a little bit different, but you can kind of recognize it by the leaves. They kind of all go out almost like a star-shaped type, and the long, tall kind of flower.
This one is so tough. This one and candy tuft. So candy tuft is in bloom right now. You'll see a low mounding, kind of evergreen perennial, covered with white flowers. Yeah, it looks just like that. That's a candy tuft. So this is in full bloom. It looks innocent right now, but it'll literally get up about that tall and kind of pull over, kind of mounding thing. Native. It is tough, like full sun. We plant these in rock gardens because they're so tough. Like they can take that radiant heat coming off of the boulders, that kind of stuff.
What is
And
that?
they look really good in containers as well. So candy tuft, dianthus, phlox, all these are very much related kind of plants. Just tough sun, sun, sun. More sun equals more flowers. There you go. And what now? I'll trade you. It's done. Yeah, that's good. Other different too.
We also brought up a bunch of different stages, salvias. These are hummingbirds and butterflies kind of favorite.
Go crazy. Yeah.
They come in all different colors, all different sizes, full sun, come back every single year.
Isn't that crazy? Look at that. Red. Whatever we call that is red. Purple. They're the same plant. Oh, blonde and brunette. It's only different. It's just color flower. The shrub is the same. Knee-high, mounting shape, hummingbirds, like all the colors. We have it in blue. We've got apricot coming. So pinks.
These are very animal resistant too to the pigs. If you rub your fingers on the leaves and swallow your fingers, it has like a super strong scent, almost like an herb. But the animals don't really touch this, and then bloom, late spring when it starts to warm up, all summer long. Doesn't require any deadheading. Same like uniform shape, and every winter you cut it back to leave like 8 inches or so. It'll come back every year. But again, kind of a different shape, long flowers, what the hummingbirds go for. These do really great here. Everyone should have one of these in their yard.
No, they should have 1, 2, 3, 4.
You really don't have to do much work to it. You just got to make sure it gets water and prune it once a year, right before spring. And these are starting to wake up in people's yards around town now. As you breathe from the bottom first, sometimes people come in thinking that weeds are growing out of it. It starts at the bottom and kind of grows to the top. But they come in a bunch of different colors. This is a newer color too.
Yeah, it's brand new. That's an X-Dash.
Sunrise. It's kind of multicolored. You guys can take a look at it.
A lot of folks like planting Russian sage, which is a spiky blue kind of shrub that gets about this tall. And it can be kind of weedy. You kind of want to see them come up everywhere. I find these are much cleaner, neater. They stay in their place a lot. They're just as hardy, but they're a little tidier, less wild looking. Russian sage, I can tell you if they get about 5 to 7 years old, it's probably time to replace them because they start getting rangy, They just start wanting to crawl across the yard and come up, invite themselves indoors. They seed everywhere. If you want them to stay in their place, you just pop them out with a fresh one, you know, for $20, you're brand new, and it stays like that. They get old and they get crusty or something about it. They just get, they're hard to maintain. These don't do that. They're super easy to maintain. With mine got mine ball shaped. They're solid green right now. They're starting to bud up. What I will do with mine, as soon as we get that next 70-degree weather, when I see it, which is probably next week, I'm going to take a couple of my watering cans, flower power. I'm going to go hit each one of my flowers, my Russian sage, out by the street, because I want you walking by my street going, oh, wow, they got a nice house. That guy must own a garden center. Yeah, I want it blooming before yours bloom. What I'll do is I've just trimmed them and fertilize it with that flower power, and that will make them pop just like that. They'll be in bloom probably by the end of the month. Literally, this that fast. And they'll keep blooming right until Thanksgiving or something.
Whenever it gets cold. But these would be good to pair with the quince. Because this quince, these guys are like an early spring bloomer. So we're talking about blooms in spring, summer, and fall. These guys flower first before they leaf out. But these guys have been flowering for a few weeks now. It's been a while.
How do you spell that?
Quince with a Q. You can take a picture of it after the class. Otherwise, you're going to test my spelling. And I know my English teacher was in the class or watching online. And literally, it's kind of fun. I grew up here. Some of my teachers go, you know, Ken, you spelled that wrong. But, you know, okay, I was on the deadline. Sorry, I should throw it through a spell check better.
But if you had the quince, you know, this has been blooming for the last few weeks, and it's kind of, you know, as it gets warmer, it kind of leaves out. And then the salvias are starting to wake up after the quince is kind of done blooming. So you can have continuous bloom with multiple plants in the same little area. Those stay just a few feet tall, wide, relatively small, but kind of containing plants that keep attracting through all spring and summer.
Quince is kind of an old-fashioned plant. In fact, some of your grandparents made quince jellies and quince. This does not hold the fruit. So we bred it to just bloom, have brighter flowers, has a longer flower, has double flowers now. Instead of, so that's a much different, usually when your grandparents grew is red, single flower, and important fruit afterwards. This one is shorter, so it gets about chest high, head high or so. So I notice the hummingbirds love the color. They love to rest in it. They'll use it as a perch to kind of, as they zoom down to get more of this. They're bickering over the red hot poker, and the other flowers are resting in this kind of stuff. And so it's a great little plant. This is extreme drought heavy, super low maintenance. I mean, just if you want yuccas and cactus and that kind of stuff, this belongs in your yard because it's equally that hardy. It's got a root that goes down to China, and it doesn't do it justice. It blooms on second-year wood. So we prune this back. It's blooming on last year's wood. Now we're flushing new growth. So when this thing grows out again, your flowers will be 5 times as bright next year as it is this year. So anyway, quince tribute.
Yeah, the stages and salvias too are super low maintenance. They'll probably require water more frequent than the quince, but still very easy. Something you're gonna have to be checking every day, even in the middle of the hot summer. You know, just give it water like twice a week or so. And they do great. Really easy to take care of.
If you miss the water, it might not bloom quite as well. Right. I think I'm watering mine every once a week when it's hot out. I treat it like my trees. And it seems to bloom just fine. I don't know, 2-gallon knitter head at the base of the plant keeps it going. All right, that's a good one. Might as well just sage and yarrow, they're together.
So the next plant is yarrow. These you'll see natively growing around for sure. They're all been popping up just in the last few days or so, I've noticed. Almost looks like a weed, but they still have like pretty flowers, and it's kind of like a flat top flower, which some hummingbirds and pollinators like to perch on and sit on while they get the nectar and stuff. These come yellows. We have red down there. This one is kind of like a purple and white one. This color is new to me, but these are really nice. These will bloom kind of late spring through summer, early summer, low maintenance. But it's been really good. It attracts pollinators, the hummingbirds. Like
This is truly a native. You'll see this growing wild. I like it because it's got a real long green cycle. It's got this fern-looking foliage that just spreads. Just as this plant will kind of triple in size this year. The native one is yellow or white, but it's such a hardy one, such a hardy grower for here. It loves our sun, loves everything about us. We're trying to find new colors. And so you see these paprikas, the reddish kind of stuff. Animals seem to leave this one alone. Javelina, don't bother it. Except I have had them nibble on this one a little bit. This one, no, not at all. This one just, they'll nibble on the flower. I don't know why. But if you've got animals, here's the advice I can give you. You have deer and javelina. Whatever you plant, when you put it out there, no matter what it is, you're in their living room. If I were to put this in your living room, how quickly would you spot that? Like instantaneous. And so if you see that, you're going to be curious, going, hey, bud, hey, guys, let's go check this out. There's something new over here. They're all going to look at it. And then they're going to taste it, try it, go, oh, I wonder, no, that's not that good. Let's keep moving over. Let's go to the neighbor's yard. And so they just roam around. If you have that, just get a bottle of repellent. If you're in the thick of it, if it's in the backyard, it's fenced, don't worry. But the front yard, where there, you got that pressure, just automatically apply for the season, get your repellent, spritz it, even if it says it's animal resistive. Because they're going to come through, and what they'll do is they'll taste it. And before they figure out they don't like it, they nibble the flowers off. Then they kind of go, nah, that's not for me. And keep moving. So just kind of insider, gardener to gardener, tip that up.
Can you spray the repellent on the soil around it as opposed to?
Yeah, can you spray the repellent on the ground? Generally this time of year. So javelina, yes, when things are earlier in season, it works really well. Right now, all that tender new growth is coming up. They love the tender new growth. So it's probably better to get a liquid and spritz the foliage so it makes it taste off to them. So it's got that rotten egg. They're using herbs like mints, rosemaries. It makes them taste like they don't like it. Anytime you're sage or salvia, you know you've got a good plant because animals just know when I smell sage or salvia, which is the same plant, we don't like it. So it's a heavy scent kind of thing. So you're, you mentioned the autumn sage. This is meadow sage.
Yeah, this one has more of like a kind of a native look to it, and the flowers are a little bit different. Instead of having smaller flowers around the plant, it has real big buds, and kind of a different colored shape to the flowers. But the real tall bud, we're talking about, heights is really what butterflies kind of go for. These will have real big buds, and they'll bloom, when it starts to warm up pretty soon, all throughout the summer until it gets cold.
For mine, my butterflies love my salvias and the yarrows. They love those. This will bloom for me starting probably the end of this month, 1st of May. It'll bloom for about 2 months. Then it starts to bloom a little less. Then I'll take my hedger and I'll just hedge off all the spent flowers and fertilize it again. Guess what I fertilize with? The flower power. And then it comes right back into bloom again. So, but it's kind of a little insider tip I've kind of used. They don't share that on the internet or whatever, but that's kind of really works for that sage. If you cut it back, it'll go late as soon as the monsoons hit through fall. It'll just be solid color again for you. So you can trick them into coming back into color. Otherwise, spend some time forming seed. They're going, oh, I'm going to populate. I'm going to focus on making seed. Just take that off their plate. Go, no, you're not going to seed here. You're just going to flower. It makes them bloom. Anyway. Yeah, that's classic.
These are butterfly bushes. These are more of a shrub. The salvias, the stages get, some varieties get a little bit bigger, but these will be shrubs. This is a butterfly bush. These guys get real big buds, similar to the sage, but 3 times the size.
We call them a summer life because the flowers get the long pinnacles like that. So another common name for them is summer life.
But these come in all shapes and sizes. I think this one gets to be about 4 or 5 feet tall. There's also varieties that stay small, just 2 or 3 feet off the ground. These will get blooms for you kind of when summer starts, all throughout the season. Then it's kind of hard to tell now because they're just kind of leafing out. They'll get buds, 6 inches big. And these require a little bit of deadheading, but it's really something that attracts pollinators because the super big, bright buds all over the plants. It comes in different shapes and sizes. You'll notice these, when they start to wake up, they're starting to leaf out. If you have them in your yard now, these guys are probably a couple weeks ahead of schedule. These are another plant that attracts the butterflies and pollinators like crazy.
You take middle of May, June, July,
It has
August,
to be-
September.
Yeah, it's
That's
been
its
warm.
cycle.
Yeah. But it does require a little deadheading with the stem flowers. It'll be something that'll give you buds, that big, for till we cool down.
You don't have to deadhead. You could just let them go, but they bloom better, and they look better when you just kind of. That's one when I have a party, I go out and I just trim off some flowers, I give it some flower power, and it just comes right back and new flush. It just looks like wow. So in the back.
Sorry, it's me just cutting off the flower.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So deadheading means pinching off the dead spent flowers. That's all it is. So some plants deadhead themselves. Some plants need some help. So yeah.
2 questions. What kinds of butterflies do we have in the area? Is they specific to a certain type?
I don't know all the butterflies. What's your second question?
Okay, the second one is, does it attract moths?
Yes.
Okay.
There's a beautiful, they call it a sphinx moth or a hummingbird moth. It's a great, it looks like a hummingbird. You'd swear it's a hummingbird. They're not quite out yet. You see them?
No.
They'll come out shortly.
We see them every summer though in the garden center for sure. And people freak out thinking, is that a moth or a hummingbird? But
It's a beautiful
it
thing.
looks pretty cool.
It's got real long proboscis and rolls. It's just really cool to watch. It's one of those on Instagram, you put it on short reels or TikTok, just take a picture and go, that's cool. It's actually the mother of the tomato hornworm. The big green worm that eats your tomatoes, peppers, gets in the garden, that gigantic one.
Yeah.
That's the larva stage of that particular moth. And so when you plant your tomato, she's going, yeah, I'm going to go pollinate those flowers and then lay my eggs there. And 3 weeks, 6 weeks, however many weeks later in summer, I'm going to devour this plant. So if you see that, you've got tomatoes, just know, oh, I should probably have some caterpillar control stuff, get organic, that will take care of them. So there are some moths. No, they're not a problem with caterpillars, issues right now. That's the only one that's really interesting. That's kind of fun to watch. Yeah. So how far do I deadhead? Which ones do I deadhead? So I'm pretty aggressive. Now my therapy, I don't have a therapist, I probably should. But I have a cup of coffee in the morning. I love going out. I just therapy, just deadhead my flowers. Just kind of take spin flowers off. I'm pretty aggressive. So butterflies, butterfly bush, they have a long pedicle. They'll start to bloom, then it gets longer, longer, longer. And this flower will start to die off. And then at the end, you just have all this, a few flowers at the end. If I think you're ugly in my yard, I will dig you out. If that flower, I don't think it's quite at its peak, it's out. Because I know I can force new ones on that pretty quick. So if you keep taking those spent flowers off, even the ones that have a little flower left, if you take those off, literally you look deeper into the butterfly bush especially, and you'll see dozens, if not more, flowers coming up. You'll see new buds coming up all the time. So just a couple of times a month, doesn't take that much. And it really keeps them flushing waves of growth. Same with your roses. The new roses we have, they're basically self-pruning. When they bloom, they're not like your grandparents. You had to count back 3 nodes, cut it at a 45-degree angle to get them to bloom back, and have special fertilizer. You had to be a genius. You don't have to do that. They will prune themselves. But that flower stays on there for a little bit. And so I'll just kind of go, I just take them off real quick with my cup of coffee, usually in one hand. And it makes them look really good. Does it help them bloom more? They'll do it on their own, which makes me feel better because it looks better, because it just,
It
I'm a
looks
gardener. I just like gardening.
Especially with these plants, it looks a lot better when you deadhead, because you'll see them in people's yards that have spent buds on them, and the buds are big, and they turn brown and black and stuff. So when someone has like, one that's like 4 or 5 feet tall, you can see from, half a block away when there's tons of little dead flowers on it. They really stick out. So it's just like good maintenance, and it makes it look a lot better.
I would say two, butterfly bush. That's one of those plants. I mean, this is going to be hard for you gardeners to hear. You're allowed to kill some plants. Just because it has life left in it doesn't mean it deserves to be sitting in front of your $1 million house. They age out in about 5 to 7 years, and they start to get woody. They just don't bloom as well as they did when they were youngsters. Sometimes you need to rotate some of these plants out, put a fresh one in, just so you've always got this young vitality that's coming out. So I'm trying to, for me, I personally try to replace 10% of my plants every year. So every 10 years, I get this rotation of plants coming through. So if you're ugly at all, I take a shovel out, maybe I'll pop that thing out and put a new one in, just like that. So it's pretty, just, I encourage you. Butterfly bush is one of those that get rangy.
Now, I know lantana attracts moths and bees. Does it also attract butterflies? and
Yes,
hummingbirds?
lantana is a strong, it'll be on the list. It's a very strong butterfly, monarchs, swallowtails, hummingbirds. It's a true pollinator. Bumblebees, the hummingbirds are pretty strong here. Monarchs are starting to come back. The honeybees are strong. The local wild population is very strong. Bumblebees are struggling. So their counts are down a little bit. So anything you do to help the bumblebee kind of stuff. And they like these. Carpenter bees, you know what those are? It's a black bumblebee. And they'll go out and they'll harvest this. They'll take a flower, you see this perfect dime-sized hole in it. They harvest that and they take it back to the nest, and I don't know what they do with it. I think they make molds and stuff. They just use it to nest, but they're harvesting it. It's called a carpenter bee. Basically a gigantic bumblebee. And they're just slow lumbering. I don't know how they stay up in the air, but they're just slow lumbering giants. They're beautiful bees. They're never curious about you. They're just busy doing their thing, but they're not just after flowers, they're also after the foliage. Insect trivia.
So now we can transition to some vines that really attract the hummingbirds. These are 2 different varieties of honeysuckle. These again have the super bright colors and the long flowers. This one with it's called Japanese Hall honeysuckle. It has yellow and white flowers, super fragrant. You see these all around Prescott. These have like a sweet vanilla smell. You can smell from like the street if you're walking past someone's house. This particular variety is semi-evergreen, so it holds on to its leaves if we have pretty mild winters.
I have the cards. Just need to get them. Thank you.
So these will start to bloom kind of late summer or late spring through the first part of summer, then again in the fall time. So these you see all around. They can also be kind of trained grow up trellis, or you can let it go as a small little bush hedge. These are really, really good, really easy to take care of, and they keep their leaves. I mean, I think since we had the last 2 winters have been pretty mild, this vine has kept like 95% of its leaves. They're solid ones. But very fragrant, attracts the hummingbirds like crazy.
Which one is that?
This is gold flame. This is another variety. These ones will go deciduous. This is the gold flame, but kind of has like a pinkish purple flower. Again, they probably train it up with a trellis or let it go as a hedge. These will shed their leaves in the wintertime, but another long flowered, bright colored type vine that will attract the hummingbirds.
Number one way we use to design these. Yeah, you got that. You folks out in the valley area, you got those block walls. Feels like you're in a Russian prison or something. You need to soften that up. Try to take some of that hardscape and bring some life to it. And then it takes the heat off the radiant off those walls. That's how people think of using it. It's a good way to use it. Number one way we use this, ground covers.
Really?
Retaining wall, we've got a cut driveway, erosion is happening. That's where we plug those in, because you put them in, you take them off the stage, you spread them out, and they just kind of do this, up and down that rock face. Or if you've got the yard where they cut into the back of the wall, and then your neighbor's house is right there, you get this wall, and you want to soften that up kind of stuff, you see all kinds of stuff. Plant one there, and it will grow up and soften that up so it feels like a tropical, like you're in Cancun instead of a rock, Sedona rock face. So, yep.
Would that suppress weeds on that?
It would absolutely suppress weeds. Nothing competes with honeysuckle. Chokes out everything.
They're very dense when they're in like a shrub or ground cover form. You don't see weeds shooting out of it at all.
Now, a secret I use, like my first house I ever had was Prescott Valley. We had 6-foot chain link fences. And so big backyard. So chain link. Oh, it's just terrible. That looks awful. Feels like I'm in a prison again. I don't want that. I must have a razor right at the top. So I put vines and grapes. And so with the honeysuckles, one of these will cover about an 8-foot square, 8-foot. They have the stakes every 8 feet, but one vine every 8 feet and just covered it. It was beautiful. The way I got them to bloom and keep looking really handsome is every winter, usually in March, February, take my hedgers, I'd go right back to the fence as close as I could without getting the hedgers stuck in the wire. To be within that far, just cut it right back, fertilize, kept it young, vibrant, new foliage coming out, and it bloomed better for me. So otherwise, they tend to get this layered look. They start to choke each other out, and they get this old, gnarly oak wood underneath, the undergrowth. You really don't want that, especially on a ground cover, not so much, but on a fence line or something, keeps it looking fresh, kind of an insider tip that'll help you.
More vine. Wisteria. It's a trumpet.
Oh, trumpet vine.
This
Why
is-
not wisteria?
This is a trumpet vine. This has like the elongated trumpet, like long flower, like on steroids. These are they like when it gets warm, so they're still just kind of waking up. But they'll get a huge, long, kind of a bright orange, pinkish, kind of that type of color trumpet flower. And they're kind of like the petunia flower, but 10 times the size.
It's sort of like this, only deeper,
Yeah.
throated. So,
But again, it's a long flower for the hummingbird to stick their long tongue in there.
just think of this.
Yeah.
That's not quite.
Another vine, these are great. They'll attract the hummingbirds. Full sun, they can get kind of roasted. They like the heat. They kind of take off when it gets hot. So they wake up like in May.
And they literally weren't even leafed out like last week.
Yeah.
This is like this week's growth. So as soon as it warms up, it'll really take off.
Could you plant that with a honeysuckle?
Oh,
On there?
So the question was, Ken, we know you're there. Don't go for that extra. I know the refrigerator's calling you. Just stay with us. So, while you're at it, like, subscribe, make a comment. Where's everyone tuned in from? We'd love to see that. It also gets our ranking on Google way better. So, yes, you can plant this with honeysuckle, all the colors, achebias, all those sun-loving things. Again, this one's probably most popular for growing up pergolas, arches, that kind of stuff. But I've seen it. You go to Yavapai College, the Prescott campus, they're using it as ground covers. They're going over pergolas, over walkways. They got it everywhere because it's a native. It's one of those drought-hardy, really tough plants that you just cannot kill. It's got a roots. It's got a real fleshy, like carroty, starchy root system. So that's what makes it so robust. Virginia creepers that way, very robust. But it's got that big flower. And butterflies and hummingbirds go crazy. They'll nest in it. They'll do all kinds of stuff.
Kind of has like a tropical look just by the color of the flower. It has like a tropical feel to it.
Yeah.
A lot of like the oranges and reds kind of mixed together.
Comes in yellow, orange, and red. Pick your color. I encourage one of each.
Do citrus trees such as orange tree or anything, when they're blossoming, does that help attract these together or?
I mean, if you have stuff blossoming at the same time, it's just gonna bring more and more pollinators and butterflies and hummingbirds around. So it's good to have stuff flowering, you know, all together next to each other. It's just gonna bring more and more kind of in the rotation and pit stops every single plant.
Two things. One, if you're part of our insider club and you're part of our ecosystem, you're checking out, if you want to see what my backyard looks like, just follow us on Facebook. Because eventually you're going to see every part of my yard. So right now it's candy top blooming, it's the peonies are blooming. Those are all coming from either the test gardens from here or my gardens. Some of it's coming back here, but you can tell the garden center, yeah, I've been there. I can see all the flowers. But if you're seeing something in the landscape, it's probably my Instagram. TikTok isn't quite not a TikTok. I'm trying. I'm more of an Instagram Reels person, so you're seeing that more.
It's a different generation.
Yeah, I guess. Trying to be young. But anyway, if you're part of our newsletter, you're seeing plant drops. You can pre-order things. Right now it's the roses. So the 2025 roses are out. They're not here. They're coming in about 3 weeks. You want to put your name on one, grab one. So take a look at that. But that doesn't pertain to hummingbirds so much, but butterfly bush does. We're working on right now a butterfly drop, butterfly bush, all the exotic varieties, things you won't find anywhere else. The colors and the sizes are dwarfed. We're putting together a butterfly bush drop. So right now we're trying to line up with the growers. But if that's your thing, keep a lookout for that. Put your name on it. Anyway.
You mentioned the Facebook. What's your
Just
Facebook?
just type Waters Garden Center.
Oh, okay.
Go to our website.
Not-
It's got
not
every
your
kind of
name
thing
there.
right there. If you're looking for us, you will find us.
Okay.
We're stalking you too. So it's like the metrics are crazy right now. In fact,
Yeah.
probably I'll get notices. You'll probably all get a notice on your phone later. I don't know how they do that, but we're not doing it. Just they're magically listening to stuff. Oh.
So this, the next plant is a rose. I grabbed this one. It's a iceberg shrub rose. We got these in yesterday, and they look crazy beautiful. They're down in the lower greenhouse. There's covered in flowers. Super soft look. And again, it has the flowers within the flowers, which the pollinators are going crazy for. I don't know if hummingbirds are particularly attracted to these. I just thought it looked really nice. But it's really pretty. We have kind of a red vine one that's down there too, kind of same thing. It's just something new that came in yesterday that I thought was worth sharing with everyone.
Plus, it gave us an opportunity to talk about the rose drum. They aren't. It's not first and foremost, but I do find I've got roses in containers. I've got a huge backyard. There's fire pits. There's grills and all the hot tubs, all the stuff you've got, but it's all paved, and so it's kind of sterile. And I didn't. We're overlooking the dells. I didn't want to put railings and stuff up. I just want this negative edge. Look over and see. Beautiful. So I put containers of. I put gardens at the edges to keep the grandkids from hurling themselves over the edge at a 6-7 foot drop. So I do have a lot of roses back there. I do find the hummingbirds kind of buzz around and looking at it, buzz back over it. They're all over the place. They're so energetic. And then they'll fly up to my native juniper trees, rest, and they'll come back and do it again. Or they'll fly up to my mimosas, catalpas, the lower growing trees, and then they'll come back and do it again. So they need that rest perching place to help them kind of keep going. I don't put feeders up. I only have planted for them though. So I just naturally have kind of all birds.
This is a pretty cool plant. It comes in whites and pinks. This one kind of attracts hummingbirds like crazy because when you plant it, it'll be mostly kind of dense in the middle, but it'll shoot out long flowers. So again, like the common theme of like heights, So the main bush stays a little bit smaller, but shoot out flowers with like a kind of like a big flower on the tip. It's like a super bright white or like a super bright pink, and it attracts the hummingbirds. And These are kind of along the lines of the stages in salvia as far as like full sun, stays, maybe 3 or 4 feet tall and wide, pretty low maintenance, just need water a couple times a week or so. But it's kind of a cool, different kind of flowering mini shrub.
The way I like to design with that, because the flower hovers a foot and a half above the foliage, it just adds drama. We've got breezes always, even on a calm day, the wind is kind of blowing. It just adds motion out in the gardens that's unique to this plant. Grasses do the same thing, but grasses are always blooming, late summer, fall. This is blooming spring through summer. So it just gives me that design them. It looks great in containers.
It does have like the grassy kind of look to it because it's so long and the flowers do kind of flow. That's the way I describe it.
Butterflies, mainly hummingbirds like that one. Butterflies mainly like this scabiosa or pincushion flower. Yeah, okay, use a common name. Pincushion, it's like a pincushion, but it's like a butterfly landing pad. What it really is. So they just light on that, from the smaller painted ladies, monarchs, to all butterflies. They love this plant. Perennial, comes back year after year. The more sun this gets, the more flowers you get. So, anyway. And these are companion plants. This is shorter, this is taller. There you go. We should talk about those. That's such a beautiful display right now.
The sanctuary.
It's such a strong, maybe even that.
This is a sanctuary tree or kind of small shrub.
Big
Okay.
bush, little
Bush.
tree.
These are really cool. They like early spring bloomer with like white kind of pinkish flower, small little flower. Then it comes with a super dark red leaf after that. You see these often like pruned to be like a small tree. They only get to be 6-7 feet tall maybe, or kind of a multi-stem hedge bush. Doesn't produce fruit, or I think it does produce
Real tiny.
Tiny
birds. Robins like it.
Usually birds get to them before you even notice them. But it's very unique with the dark red leaf kind of stands out a lot.
It's related, it's a prunus family. It's related to purple leaf plums that you see around. They're everywhere. This is more of a shorter than that. That's more of a tree with a base shape to it. This is more of a step down from that. They design it like in hedgerows or something. But I find this has more character than the purple leaf plums. It's got the same kind of flower to it. But the foliage is more green than it converts to purple. And the fall color is this bright red. It puts purple leaf plum to shame. But the hummingbirds like the flowers and they like to roost. They like to nest in this particular plant. They'll use it as cover, as resting places. And it's just a hardy plant. There's a native variety that grows here. Native cherry kind of stuff. It's green instead of purple. But same cherries and succeeded plums are all related. Great plants if you want low maintenance out there.
Now, I have a neighbor that's got pyracantha. Is that going to kill that?
So he's got a neighbor with pyracantha. They're going to put boxing gloves on and see which one battles it out, which one's going to survive. No, plants get along. They'll respect each other. So pyracantha is another one. It's also called firethorn. That's one that not so much they'll roost in it because it's protection for them. It can get some height. Very dense. It's got a dense to it, but the flower itself, those orange berries, as a kid, you just pick them off and chuck them at each other. Or boys, we did, or I did. Anyway, that's a good one. Good strong plant. If I had my druthers, I'd plant this one. If I go with this the cherry or fall plums, because there's no thorns. So
I don't know what pyracantha gets a bad rap, but it's really low maintenance. And it's bunnies nesting so dense, like no predators are going to get in there because they have to go through like a maze of spring and stuff.
why don't we go to this last one because you're 10 minutes over. All right, and we can wrap up questions and then maybe I can touch on fertilizers because they take advantage of the storm.
This is Amelina Indian hawthorn. These are really cool plants. I think these are kind of underrated These are evergreen, and their leaves kind of change color throughout the year. You know, they're green, but they come out with like a little bit of like a purple tint to them. And I think they kind of change color as the seasons change or so. They can get roasted in the full sun. They do fine. They have a kind of the waxy leaf, which animals sometimes kind of stay away from. It also helps the plant retain moisture so it doesn't get fried on the tips. This particular variety table is smaller. It's only a couple feet tall and wide, but it gets a lot of little pink flowers. There's varieties that get white flowers. Some can get, they haven't even in tree form. Some can get as tall as us. So this one, it's the white Indian hawthorn one. We sell a lot of them. They do really well here. I think they're pretty underrated.
It's got a real fragrant flower in spring. And it's just evergreen. Like middle of January, it looks like this. It's evergreen. So in containers, raised beds, I like to design the shorter ones in those kind of areas. Because they look, going up to the front post of the house, nice, beautiful pot. It's nice, like no maintenance, no pruning. It just keeps its warm.
No maintenance.
And then it can have a flower as you come to your home or guests are coming in and smell. It makes a whole front of that. And just a little, not quite as strong as a lilac. It's different. You go, what is that? Oh, it's Indian hawthorn.
These were blooming like in the fall time, like early part of the winter this year because we were so warm. Like we had them in I saw them blooming like in December, November and stuff. Yeah, that's confused. But and then when we got to January, when it actually got cold, they kind of fizzled out. They seem to bloom second time and kind of in the weird fall, whatever winter we had.
So I pass out my card, not so you can look at my pretty mug, but on the back side of that is the actual architect. And the way you want to program your clock coming up, you're going to look at summer, which is our growing season. April through October is our growing season. And so usually by May, you want to turn that thing on because we're starting to get dry. And we're dry. There's very little moisture May or June until the monsoons hit July. So your drip system is the life support system to get them through the next 2.5 months, whenever the summer rains come. And so about once a week, establish plants, trees and shrubs, vines, deeper rooted things, about once a week is pretty good. Okay, if you've got shallow, brand new plants, you just put this thing in, probably a couple times a week is good. So once a week for established, twice a week for brand new trees and shrubs. Now, a lot of flowering things or vegetables or lawns, that's different. They're real shallow rooted. So they're going to need shorter time periods of water, but more frequent because we want to water that. So your goal is to water this root through the root ball and then a little bit more. So you want to push that water through the soil bands, the soil layer to the bottom. But I find a rookie mistake is you're watering every day for like 15 minutes. So that water only penetrates about this far every day. So the plant will stay alive somewhat, and then we get that first 99-degree weather in June, and it starts to struggle, get stressed. So then you finally start to water it, and you go, I should probably water my hand too. You just watered it, kept that drip system on for an hour, 2 hours, 1 gallon per hour emitter head. 1 gallon. If you leave it for an hour, it's 1 gallon. This thing needs 5 gallons of water a week. How long do you have to run a drip system? You might need 2 drip emitters. Run it for 2 or 3 hours to get enough water, and then you want to let it air out. So that's the secret to trees and shrubs. And your containers are different. Containers, you're watering until you see water come out the bottom. And, I watered the whole, again, all the soil bands, and now it's flowing out the bottom. That one's an easy one. Flowers, that's a harder one. I like to watch this time of year now through middle of June. I love my pansies. They're kind of the canary in the coal mine. Because if they get dry, they just whine and complain. They let you know. They lay down in the garden. You go, I am so dry and thirsty. When they start laying down, the garden, everything else is probably dry too. They're just the complainers. So that's my way of, I use them as monitors. If you're a gardener, you can kind of spot certain plants are talking to you. You can respond to that. And so this is meant to be a form to keep it inside your irrigation box. It's small enough. keep it inside your garden journal. So it's there to be a help. So anyway, if you got other questions, let us know. I'll email the bigger form of this to you here this afternoon sometime. And I've got this guy coming out to you. This will be the butterfly and hummingbird plant list. Doesn't describe them, just says these are the ones they're attracted to. Then you can go research more on that later. Okay, so that'll be to you shortly, and a couple other things. So, and then because it's a smaller group, and this is the last class we're going to have through the end of May. So we just kind of last weekend was like it maxed out the system. So no parking. People were down the streets. They were parking over. We had 3 people helping guide parking. We need a bigger place or an extra classroom or something. But what I have is I have this many left. 2, 4, 10. These are my garden calendars. I'm going to show that up. So what this is, it's pretty. It's by every month. But really what it is we put the garden tips for that month. What should you be doing for that month? What should be your guide? So it's not meant to be pretty, it's meant to be a help. So you'll probably keep this even in 2026. It's still the same advice and handles in January, April, or whatever it is. So I've got this many left. Who wants one? I'll just kind of go. So one per household. There we go. I think I have enough. Let's see if you over here too. Let's try. Sorry. Apologize. There you go. I've got 2 more back here. And again, this is on our website. It's on the front page. It's on. We just printed it and said, let's make it pretty and see if we can't get people to hang it up on their refrigerator, their kitchen, whatever, kind of. So, I got one left. One left because you have the other one.
I don't think
Got it? Okay. I did bring it up. There's none left. If you're online, sorry, you had to be here. So.
Can you
You
mention?
do have the links to the same on the side there. So take a look at the conversation bar. You'll see the links to the handout. So we've got you guys already covered.
Can you mention wisteria, but you didn't talk?
Yeah, wisteria grows really well. It's very aggressive. It's too big for most yards. I mean, like it'll grow so big, it'll open the door and bite itself in. It goes to the wall. It will hold up pergolas. It will hold up arches, but it's beautiful. It's a strong, deep-rooted plant. Do hummingbirds like it so much? Not so much, but they love to roost in it. It's definitely a place where they feel safe. They're going to have the nests up there. They're going to rest while they're going back down to the gardens underneath. So it's a good, strong garden. Most folks don't realize wisteria does so well. It does very well. You see beautiful specimens. A snowball bush. I think I wrote one of those. People don't realize this eastern snowball bush. I always think it's for the east. This is in full sun, Prescott Valley, in the wind, commercial settings, glorious about my height. It's beautiful. It's viburnum. It's a viburnum family. Anytime you hear viburnum, because viburnum have a much thicker leaf to them, makes them really robust in the wind. So it makes them more, they're just hardier. And they don't tend to
hydrangea.
They're not related to hydrangeas. Hydrangeas are
They
wimps.
look like
Yeah, it looks kind of like a hydrangea, but hydrangea is full shade, protect it, talk sweetly to it. This one, curse at it, throw kick dirt at it, it still blooms. They're 2 different things, but this is also a bigger plant. So with hydrangeas are more that blue pom-pom. It has a pom-pom flower, kind of like it was usually blue or red or pinks. This one's just going to be white. It's deciduous. That is, it'll lose its leaves in the winter. It's got kind of a thick mat to it. Just start doing this now. You'll see these around town. You'll see them going, you go, oh, I've set that class.
Yeah, these
That's what you're talking about.
started blooming just seemed like a few days ago or like a week ago.
Yeah. So anyway, I brought it just because it's unusual, different, and I knew that gardeners would be at this class. No one's going to traipse across town in a snowstorm, come to a class. Yeah.
We have the chipmunks repel? How do you repel? They are
Chipmunks.
built to the flowers.
Yeah, chipmunks are bad. Pack rats are another one. You see a lot of, you're in the rock piles, they're all the ground squirrels, little brown, gray squirrels, like a supersized chipmunk. How do you keep them in check? So if you're sensitive, just come do this real quick. I have what's called a trap line in my backyard. So I've got ponds, I've got water sources, which attracts the birds and attracts everything else. So rats are my nemesis. I get a few chipmunks every once in a while. I don't really have squirrels. I get rats, big ones. I mean, like the size of cactus. Like they drag the trap off across the way, and they're going to take it home with them or something. So I've got 3 of them in the backyard. We've got dogs, and so I can't use poison back there because if something happens to the dogs, divorce is for sure. I'm over. That's it. I lose everything. So I've got to use traps, and I find for me, I use a rat trap. They work on chipmunks really well. Pumpkin seeds, they can't resist. Everyone says use peanut butter, but it dries out in the climate and it gets crusty, and it's just hard to maintain. They go berserk for pumpkin seeds. So I just put those in, and what I do is keep the birds and stuff out, snakes and stuff, and put a piece of plastic Tupperware of some sort, and just cut a hole out of it, put it over there, and just put it over top of the trap so the mice and the rats can go in and the other things can't. So just a few things I've learned. We can talk offline, kind of share some ideas, but probably what you'll find is you'll trap at least one thing a week. When you start, you might capture 2 or 3 things a week, and eventually you go, nothing's been out there for a while. So right now I'm finding the voles. There's a little tiny field mouse that's out. It's got a real pointed nose to it. Something happened where mama must have kicked them out, or there's a wave coming at me. So they seem to be hitting the traps right now. In the front yard, I just went down to Cal Ranch. They have these little square boxes that hold poison blocks. So I just have a couple of those boxes down front. But I don't want the dogs digging and trying to get in, and I don't want me to make a mistake and have to deal with the consequences. So
Cow Ranch
you're
also,
awful needy.
I know.
What is that? Yeah.
Cow Ranch also has an electronic one that
Yeah,
works
Oh, works.
wonders.
that's good.
It works wonders.
So that you're saying that Cal Ranch has an electronic repeller,
no,
some sort of
no,
noise maker?
it kills them.
Oh, electrocution chamber.
Yeah,
Oh, I want to see that.
yeah.
Cool. I know. I
Looks
raised my
great.
family down in Skull Valley. Said it works great. So electrocution rings, but that's good. That sounds brutal. Rangers down in Skull Valley, they would bring up a 5-gallon bucket with water, and they put bait on this roll. They jump into it, roll in, they drown. It's just a bucket full of thing. It's brutal. But you get creative. I'm sure that's online. But probably there's no way to repel them. Herbs, they'll generally leave alone. But all this stuff, they're gonna like to pack rats. They call them pack rats because they're like gum wrappers, cute thick flowers. They like bright things. Like, oh, look, that's so pretty. They take it out and go. If you ever seen a big pile of sticks in the middle of a manzanita or an oak bush, that's a pack rat nest. If you pull that thing apart and you finally get down there, it's kind of fun. You'll see 2 or 3 beautiful bird nests, rat nests. And around each rat nest is cute little things they've gathered up around the nest. So anyway, trivia. That's it. That's all we got for you. Fertilize. Take advantage of this. If you're not fertilized, you can really make a difference. The moisture is going to make that stuff go in. Really, it'll make a difference. The 744 all-purpose plant food. Spread it out. Let the storm do the work for you. With that, thank you, Chris.